Hello and welcome to Smash Hit Sports. We are going to do what some people may say is impossible, but we are going to attempt to do it today. We are going to accurately predict precisely what the college football playoff is going to be this year. At least I am. I'm sure Nick's will be wrong because it'll be different from mine, but we're absolutely going to nail it. I'm excited for the college football playoff. This is a year where a lot of the top dogs have a lot of unknowns. Like Georgia, we get a new quarterback. Ohio State, we get a new quarterback. Like can Clemson get back to where they have not been for a couple years? So it should be very, very exciting. We have some newcomers in Florida State and Penn State who are on the come up. Can USC come in? So let's start with our seedings. Let's go there. Let's go 4 through 1, and then we'll pick our championship matchup and obviously our national champion. So, Nick, I want to hear your 4 seed first. Who do you think is going to be the last one in to the college football playoff?
Yeah, so I have a lot of drama going on at the end here, right after championship week. There are a lot of teams that think they're going to be the 4, but the 4 will be, and again, this will be right. I've actually never been wrong until it's
not
released.
Once.
But yeah, I have Wisconsin as my 4. I know.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy. We talked about it in the Big Ten preview a little bit, touched on it, didn't really go into it that much, but I do have Wisconsin sneaking in. Why, you might ask? You look at their schedule. They have 2 games that worry me, at home against Ohio State and at home against Iowa. Right? I think. I'm pretty sure.
They get both of those games at home.
I know. I think Iowa's at home. I don't have the schedule up right now. But for me, even if they lose that Ohio State game, they go 11-1 if Tanner Mordecai is how good I think he is, and if Luke Fickell. Okay, so let me segue into the fact that we talked about all the new coaches coming in, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like both of us have kind of said they need a year, right? Like it's a new coach, new system. They're going to need a year to get rolling. And
Yep.
I think it's foolish to assume that every single team that has a new head coach is going to need a year. I think there's going to be one team that kind of has everything lined up. The stars are going to align.
Sonny Dykes made it his first year at TCU.
Oh yeah. No, trust me. It can happen. And so for me, give me a team with an easy schedule and the best coach that was on the market who's been in the college football playoff, and have them pull off a shocking upset against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Because it's hard to beat a team twice. Ohio State gets them in the regular season, loses in the Big Ten championship game. Wisconsin then is 12-1. They sneak in.
Wow. That is a bold take, but I don't hate it because I love the logic behind it. I mean, I'm high on Wisconsin, but not that high. We would be talking about Luke Fickell being a top 5 coach in the sport if he brings Cincinnati and Wisconsin to the college football playoff within
he could be one.
4-year stretch. Don't know yet. So, damn, that would be unbelievably impressive. My 4 team is also a Big Ten squad. It is not the same Big Ten squad. I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines. Mm-hmm. I have Michigan finishing the season at 11-1. I have them not playing in the Big Ten championship game. I think they get into the college football playoff without playing in their conference championship, but ending the season 11-1. And for what it's worth, I have another Big Ten team in this, the Big Ten champion, but it is not the Michigan Wolverines. I like Harbaugh. They finally decided on what their suspension is going to be. It is 3 games. And that is it's 3 out of conference games. They're dog shit.
That's what pisses me off about Michigan. They play the worst out of conference schedule of all time every year. But I will say, so if you because I have Tennessee going 11-1, but finishing 5th in the rankings.
Yep.
Because Georgia gets that SEC East bid in the SEC championship game, and I was kind of like, who would make it? Wisconsin, Big Ten champ, or Tennessee, who didn't have the chance because I know the committee loves the SEC, and Tennessee would have beaten Bama on the road. I think, like, I was battling demons trying to figure that out. So it's interesting that you have a team that didn't make their conference championship game in there, because I ultimately decided against that.
Yeah, they are, for what it's worth, they are the only team that I have. I changed my opinion on Ohio State. I don't have them winning 11 games anymore. They're the only team that I have winning 11 or going 11-1 that isn't a conference champion of some sort, one way or another. So
right.
Yeah, I have Michigan sneaking in on the back end. Which
Who is your 5? Who is your 5? Do you know?
My 5? Yeah. It would be I have my 5 as a 10-2 Ohio State team.
Okay. All right.
If they lose to Notre Dame and Michigan, your 2 losses being 2 top 10 teams, very similar to how Penn State was last year. Their 2 losses were to 2 college football playoff teams in Michigan and Ohio State. I have Ohio State having 2 losses to, I don't have Notre Dame as a playoff team. Spoiler alert. But if their losses to Michigan and Notre Dame, I can live with them being the 5 seed. So they're my first team out. But my 3 team, I think you're going to be very excited for this, or at least if I'm right, you'll be happy. And that is the Clemson Tigers.
Come on.
Dabo is, for some reason, I've seen some discourse that like Dabo has lost it, and lost it means he went 10-2. Like, yeah. That is lost it. So DJU, I don't think is the guy, right? He's good, but he's not great, and that's what you need to make the college football playoff. I think Cade Klubnik is a damn good quarterback. Bringing in Garrett Riley is going to be tremendous for that offense. I have Clemson going into the playoff at 12-1, your ACC champions. I have them losing to Florida State in the regular season and then beating Florida State in the ACC championship game and heading into the college football playoff.
Yeah, Cody, I absolutely adore that prediction. I also have Clemson at number 3. So
let's go.
We're both going to be right, which is awesome. That feels good to know that we both get to win. But yeah, I mean, so DJU, you said that he's good, not great. I think that's foolish. I think he's shit. Brandon Streeter was terrible as well. Mr. Bubble Screen, Mr. RPO with slow quarterback. It's going to be a totally different world. And again, yeah, Dabo Swinney has gotten 10 wins with the Tigers every single year since 2011. Okay, that's an insane streak. He has not lost anything. He probably made an under-the-table commitment with DJU to get a Cali 5-star number 1 pocket passer quarterback in the country who has no reason to go from like LA to little old Clemson, right? He probably under the table is like, when Trevor Lawrence leaves, you're starting every game that you're healthy, promise, right? And when DJU starts to shit the bed, Dabo's like, well, what do I do? You know, he was just between a rock and a hard place, but he's a great coach. He's still only 50 years old. His legacy's on the rise. And we talked about it earlier. Clemson has all these chip on your shoulder games, right? They're playing Florida State, but they're seeing that Florida State's ranked ahead of them for no goddamn reason because they beat Florida State 6 years in a row. Why is Florida State ranked ahead of them? Clemson probably does not like that, right? And that's their first big game, and they get them at home. No way, in my opinion, Clemson loses that. Notre Dame, they just got dismantled. They get Notre Dame at home, right?
Yep.
I think that's a chip on your shoulder game. They normally have Notre Dame's number 2, but recently it's been different. And then South Carolina, they cannot lose to South Carolina or else the state is no longer theirs. Yep. So they can't let that happen. So for me, I have Clemson realistically having run the table, right? They should go undefeated. But I have them dropping a weird game. I have it to Miami, at Miami. Just like young team, they underestimate their competition one day. Yep. They lose a trap game in between some of these big ones. But then they win the ACC championship game and go 12-1 and finish as the 3 seed.
Yep, and I don't hate that at all. It'll be a fun year to be a Clemson Tiger. And just a little side note, I think their win total's like 9.5. If you find that number anywhere, that is a home run. You slam that. You slam the door on that immediately.
Yeah, again, because of that 10-win streak, right? It's like Vegas doesn't know about the streak. or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, I think they're just more than anything, they're preying on people's opinions coming from last year. It's like, oh, Clemson lost it because of how they performed last year. But even then, their lost it is still better than
their lost it was like if they beat South Carolina at the end there,
then
they could have made the playoff.
Yes, exactly.
I honestly was like, I think we will make the playoff if we beat South Carolina. So yeah, crazy.
Yep. So with that, I want to see if we have the same number 2 team. Who's your number 2?
I have USC, Southern Cal.
Okay. Because I know we just did our Pac-12 preview, and I know you were between having USC as your 1 or your 2 seed. What made you decide on them being number 2?
I decided them on being number 2 just because I think at the end of the year, Georgia beating Tennessee on the road, having won twice in a row and being an SEC team, like if I'm doing this out of prediction sake, even though Georgia's schedule is not that hard, I think that just solidifies that they haven't lost their number 1 crown because they're undefeated after winning 2 straight championship games.
Yep.
So I think they just have to finish number 1. But USC, I also have undefeated, and they have to traverse through a much tougher schedule to get there. But it's just how the politics work in college football. Georgia would stay 1, USC 2. Who do you have it to?
Yeah, so my number 2 squad is your Big Ten champion, Penn State Nittany Lions.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
So this is a team that I'm incredibly high on. I'm very high on Drew Aller. Nick Singleton he's possibly the best running back in the country. He's possibly also like the 3rd best running back in the Big Ten, which is insane. The Big Ten has so many good running backs this year. But they're going to be incredible. Their defense is elite. They have a top 5 defense in the country, in my opinion. I think this Penn State team is going to be incredible. They get Michigan at Happy Valley. I think that they win that game. They beat Michigan, which is why they play in the Big Ten championship instead of Michigan. They have the head-to-head win. I like Penn State at home in that game. I do have them losing 1 game, and that is at Ohio State. So they split their 2 big games this year, but splitting them is good enough to get them into the college football playoff. I have them beating Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship and getting into the playoff at 12-1 with Drew Aller and James Franklin finally getting over the hump that year after year after year, people say, well, he can't win the big one. I think he wins the big one and makes it into the college football playoff.
I mean, that would be great. I feel like Penn State's always just kind of like a fun team that they can't, make it over the hump. So it'd be cool to see, especially Clemson-Penn State as a 3-2 matchup would be really fun. I know a lot of people that went to Penn State, so that'd just be really cool. But I guess your Penn State is my Wisconsin. I see Braylon Allen as the best running back in all of college football. I do like Nick Singleton. I know that Penn State has a good offensive line. They have some great prospects there. They have definitely good linebackers. Just they're breeding talent, but I feel like they always do, right? Like I don't know enough about Drew Aller yet. I haven't seen enough. But when they had McSorley, Chris Godwin, and Saquon Barkley, and like a bunch of defensive talent, they couldn't make the playoff. When they had Miles Sanders and Micah Parsons and Odafe Owe as an edge rusher, they couldn't make the playoff. So I didn't want to get blinded by the talent. I do have them losing to Ohio State, beating Michigan, but then dropping a classic Penn State disappointment game to Michigan State at the end of the year.
Okay, fair.
So then they don't make it. And I think I have them playing in the Citrus Bowl against LSU.
Still a great bowl.
It's a really good bowl, but it's not technically New Year's 6.
Yeah.
But again, LSU Penn State would be a fantastic game, and who cares about the labeling these days? So.
Yeah. So we'll just do a 3-2-1 on this. Our number 1. I'm not even going to do that. It's Georgia.
Yeah,
our number
Georgia.
1 team is Georgia.
I have Georgia.
Okay.
I already admitted it.
Yeah, they're 12. I have them going into the end of the year 12-0, 13-0 after they win the SEC championship game. I have them playing Bama. Yeah,
I've
I've
been
been playing
LSU,
Bama. Okay.
just because Bama I have having 2 SEC losses, LSU just the one because LSU
Yep.
loses to Florida State.
Yep.
It's I will say that I don't know. There are 2 days where I had my predictions before we talked about it, before I made any videos about it, where I had LSU beating Georgia in the SEC championship game. Just because I don't know. I think there has to be Georgia has to have a game where they fall asleep. It's going to happen. Their schedule's too easy that it feels free.
They have the 64th easiest schedule of the 69 Power 5 teams.
Yeah.
So it is very easy.
And they play in the SEC.
Yep.
All the people are like, oh, the ACC is garbage at football, blah, blah, blah. Your crown and joy, right? Georgia has the 5th easiest schedule in all of Power 5 football.
I will give Georgia a little bit of. They were supposed to play Oklahoma this year, and they made them cancel it because of the move. So it is what it is. But yeah, their hardest game is far and above at Tennessee.
It feels too obvious that they're going to make the playoff again. And yeah, I mean, I saw a picture of Carson Beck the other day. I didn't really know what he looks like. That kind of gave me a little bit of worry. Don't judge a book by its cover, obviously, but he looks like a rattler. I don't know. Sometimes you can
Mac Jones won a title. I can't judge a guy off of how he looks and say whether or not he's going to be successful.
A little bit of me was like, I think it wasn't what I was expecting, I guess. I think he looks kind of like a rattler. I hope he doesn't play like one. But, 13-0, beating LSU. They're the 1 seed.
Okay.
That's my 4.
So as a recap, my 1 through 4 is Georgia, Penn State, Clemson, and Michigan. And your 1 through 4 is Georgia, USC, Clemson, and Wisconsin. So we both have
Georgia, Wisconsin playing.
Yep.
And then USC, Clemson playing. USC, Clemson in the Rose Bowl. So
that would be awesome.
Awesome, but also poor Clemson.
Yeah.
And then Georgia, Wisconsin in the Sugar, is it? Yeah.
I still think Clemson fans would probably outnumber USC fans in the Rose Bowl. Honestly, they might.
Don't think so. I doubt it. It's literally in Pasadena, but I do think we'd show out. But that would be awesome. It would be an awesome game to watch.
So let's talk through your matchups first. What are your Georgia, Wisconsin?
Yeah, I think
through that, I don't see a path.
A path for Wisconsin to win? I don't think it exists. No, it does not exist. This is a big boy. Wisconsin's going in after playing a schedule where really all they had to do is play Ohio State. And Ohio State team where like Kyle McCord, the reports out of camp are saying that he doesn't look that good, right?
Yep. They still have not named a starting quarterback.
Yeah, it's like basically Wisconsin has a coach. Now, obviously Georgia does too, but Georgia is a seasoned vet. Wisconsin is like a brand new team. Yeah. I think Georgia would probably beat them handedly. I think there's potential for like some weird Vegas shit where it's like 98% of the bets are on Georgia. And so then Wisconsin actually covers the spread because Vegas doesn't want to lose money. Yeah. That shit happens as much as you hate to admit it. But yeah, Georgia would win that game. And people are now going to start saying, wow, Georgia, easiest path ever to a national championship game, which is honestly probably true. But then USC Clemson, as much as I want to say Clemson, honestly, because I haven't solidified this. I haven't made like these videos yet. I really do, but I do think I'm going to go USC. I've been bold enough with my takes already. I'm just going to go 1 and 2. They're both undefeated. How awesome would that be to see Caleb Williams, like one of the best college quarterbacks ever, against a team going for a three-peat? in the national championship game. I think that would be so awesome.
The narrative that you would have going into that game, which would be incredible, is the unstoppable force meets immovable object. You have the best offense in the country in USC and Caleb Williams, like holstered with Lincoln Riley as the quarterback guru, headed in to play Kirby Smart and the vicious Georgia Bulldogs defense, the match to like who are defending their title for a third year. It would be insane.
No, I think that like it has like USC Texas potential. It has like like unreal legacy, like talked about 80 years from now potential. And so I just have to like, I feel like it's just no way it ends up being that, but I have to predict it because of how awesome it would be. It would also be great if Clemson stopped that from happening. As a Clemson fan, that'd be awesome to be able to say that. But yeah, I'll go Georgia USC, and then I just don't think.
Hold on,
I don't
save
think I can
the
have Georgia
championship.
win 3. All right.
Save the championship. Save the championship. We'll wait.
Yeah, you talk me through yours first.
Yeah, so Georgia Michigan, I think is a lot better game on paper than what it actually would be. I don't trust JJ McCarthy at all, and I think Georgia tears them apart. So I'm going to take Georgia in that matchup, and I have them advancing. And then my 2-3 matchup, Penn State Clemson. We've continually said James Franklin hasn't been able to get over the big one, right? And I think there's going to be a little bit of a celebration that we made it, and not enough a celebration that, hey, we have shit to do yet. And that might not be, obviously, I'm sure internally Penn State will be like, hey, job's not finished. But the fans, the media, they'll be like, Penn State finally made it. They finally did it. They finally did it. And then Dabo, who's been there and done that, is going to come in and they're going to win that game. I think Klubnik has a little bit more experience with Garrett Riley. I trust that a little bit more because I think Manny Diaz is the defensive coordinator at Penn State. And I like his defense, but give me Clemson in that one. So I have
So you have Clemson in the championship game.
Yes.
And I don't.
Yes. Which is not how I would, thought this
not what I would have
podcast was going to go.
A month ago. But also, I do agree, if that was the scenario, if you have your 4 teams correct in order, I agree that I think Clemson, for those exact reasons, would beat Penn State. Again, the 3-2, I think it's the Rose Bowl this year. So I think, there's not that advantage that kind of drew me to having USC win. And that's like the biggest bowl game there is.
Yeah.
So the big moment you're talking about is now that much bigger. Obviously, Penn State's played in many a Rose Bowl, but they lose those games a lot, right?
Yeah.
They should have beat USC in 2017. They somehow lost it. So I agree. And Clemson, Georgia would be something else, man. Holy shit. That would be. I'd almost rather that just as a Clemson fan.
Well, no shit.
Well, yeah, but but as far as just the hatred I have towards Georgia fans, we're going to be playing each other a bunch in the coming years too. That would just be so cool to build that up for the future as well. So that's awesome, but I can't believe that I don't have Clemson. You do. Who do you have winning that game?
My national champion for the 2023-2024 college football season. He has now won it 3 times.
Okay, all right. I had chills for a second.
Not in a row.
Oh!
He has now won it 3 times. Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers take down the Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh.
They topple the undefeated or you can't bring them down, you can't stop them, but yet Clemson manages to do it. Garrett Riley is considered the greatest offensive mind since the invention of the forward pass. and we have your Clemson Tigers crowned national champions. The storyline is that between Dabo and Kirby Smart, they are the two new big dogs of college football. Nick Saban has been passed by. It is these two, and you get to see in 2024 the Georgia Bulldogs and Clemson play each other week 1 for a rematch of the national championship in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah,
that
I'd pay
that is the story.
Plus to go to that game. If this is all true, that week 1 game, I'd pay like $10,000 to go to that game. That would be fucking incredible. Or if Clemson's going to win, I would just go to the national championship game. But that's awesome. I did not. That was what a plot twist, because you said 3 times. Great wording, because I was like, 3 times in a row, Georgia. Not that it matters, but that's awesome. I love it. I would love that if that happened. I think it can, obviously. I just don't want to be that biased asshole that predicts it, so I'm happy that you did. I'm going to go USC over Georgia. So we both have Georgia.
Let's go.
Dropping at the end there. I can totally see Georgia doing it. It's, again, like
the last
USC Georgia would be like in the sense that it's a USC Texas type game. Georgia is now the USC and USC is now the Texas, and there's just it always seems to end up being the underdog wins.
Yep.
Those so. But just as far as like, I do think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, no way Georgia goes 3 in a row. No way, no way. And so just, people are kind of doubting them somehow, and then they do it. But I'm going with USC. Caleb Williams cements double Heisman national championship game.
Wow.
Best college quarterback ever. Lincoln Riley gets his first ring. Garrett Riley gets his ring in your scenario. Lincoln gets his in mine. So the Riley brothers have a great year. But yeah, I'm going with USC. I also don't think USC is going to be able to do it in the future. This is their time to do it now. I think Georgia is not going anywhere. So just for like in 10 years, you look back, I can see just like 2023 USC, but then USC like really doesn't make it much anymore. Georgia gets one in like 27, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that wraps it up. That wraps up the playoff predictions.
Love that. I absolutely love it. The last three-peat national champion is 1934, 35, 36, the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Oh, wow.
So,
never would guess.
It would be pretty cool. And then that would be what their last USC's last national title was 2004. So 19, 20 years since
4 or 5. It might have been 5.
No, because 5 was Texas.
I thought Texas might have been 06, but maybe it was played in 06, 05 season.
Yeah.
That shit, it makes it so confusing.
I know. I hate it.
But yeah, 04, 05, whatever it was, it'd be like 20 years.
Cannot wait. I'm so pumped for this college football season. Do us a favor. If you made it this far, comment who your national championship pick is. We want to hear from you. If you comment on YouTube, or, shoot us a comment on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're all over there. Our national championship predictions will be on there as well. So, but they're here first because, actually, I don't know. Depends on when this comes out. But either way, leave a comment. Let us know what you guys think. And we'll see you in the next one.
All right.